Good evening, everyone. Good morning, or wherever you are. I don't care. It's good that you're here. My name is Mattie. I am an alcoholic. Um, this is very different from a meetings perspective, but I am very happy to be here. Um, when I speak, I like to tell before I start my share. I like to tell about what my day went and how my day went, and I get the ball rolling with that. I woke up this morning asking God, what can I do to make my sobriety better today? Um, is there anything I could do to be of service to another alcoholic? And turning my will over right when I opened my eyes. Um, and I brushed my teeth, get ready for work, and I went to work, and it was a fun time. And then I get a phone call from my friend saying that her grandmother died. And just recently, last week, I lost my grandmother. She died at the age of 83, and that gave me a perfect opportunity to be of service to one of my best friends. And we went out to get coffee and had a donut or something like that. I don't know, just like chilling out, talking as friends, and now I'm here. My sobriety date is February 28th of 2014. I have a sponsor who has a sponsor. I have a service sponsor who has a service sponsor. And I grew up in a small town in North Jersey called Caldwell. It's a type of town where everybody knows each other. I went to high school with a really small class, like about maybe 250, and everybody knew each other. Like, I can go down the street and there's one of my best friends, and there's another good friend of mine, and another good friend of mine, and also another thing too is that when I grew up, my dad's also in the program, and also my mom. I grew up in an alcoholic household, but it was very confusing when I was a kid because there was two sides. My dad, in February, he will celebrate 39 years, and he got sober at the age of 25. And I never seen him pick up a drink or a drug, and what a blessing that is. And there was one night when I was like 7 years old. It was like around like 10 o'clock. It was way past my bedtime. I remember that. And I remember my dad all suited up and everything like that. And because he was the secretary for my home group. And he was getting all suited up and ready. I'm like, hey, Dad, I have a question. And before this time, I remember my dad saying, I'm going to a meeting, hon. I'm going to a meeting. And every night he would go to a meeting around like 7:30, right on the dot. He would be like, I'm going to a meeting. And I'm like, what the hell are these meetings? And he comes up, and now going forward a little bit, he's all suited out with a briefcase that has all the history about the group. And I went up to him and I'm like, hey, Dad, are you a Freemason? Because you go to these meetings all the time. And he's like, no, son, no. And I'm like, and he's cracking up. He's like shitting himself. And I'm like, then what type of meetings are you going to? He's like, you'll know someday. So now I'm here. And I remember him taking us camping, fishing, and hiking. And I just had a really good time with my dad. He was my best friend. On the other hand, with my mom, I remember her going to meetings, but then she stopped going to meetings. But the reason for that is she had a really bad injury with her back. Way before I was born, she got into a really bad car crash, which made her back like permanently damaged. I'm talking like in the middle of her back, up from the shoulder blades, the muscles are torn apart and it's permanent. And she dealt with a lot of struggles with that, with medications, trying to get the right medications and everything like that. So, and for me, that was really hard to see, and it sucked. It really sucked. On the other hand, my childhood, I heard this from so many other speakers saying that we are all. I felt different. I felt like I was an outsider, and that's what I really felt. And when I was a kid, I was diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, and a mild case of autism. And I remember being in physical therapy, speech therapy, and this is when I really, if I really go down to where I did my step work and real hard step work and going down to the root of where I got my self-hatred from, it was at that moment where I realized that I wasn't a regular kid. I had to do all these things to get better. So I just wanted to be a normal kid, just going to school. I didn't want to go to physical therapy again. I don't want to go to speech therapy ever again. And what happened was that I got bullied a lot. To the point where I did not want to deal with school, with people. But on the other hand, I was really good at baseball and like sports. I was a really good athlete when I was going into my middle school and like elementary school, just like a regular kid, but got picked on a lot. And what happened when I had my first drink, it was actually a funny story. I wanted to be straight edge. I did not want to pick up alcohol and drugs because I knew that this disease was in my family on both sides. And I could tell you this, like if I take my family tree out and flip it upside down, beer bottles will come out of it, vodka bottles will come out of it, whiskey bottles will come out of it. But also on the other hand, if I flip it again, big books will come out of it. I got a lot of relatives in California, New Jersey, that are in the program with multiple years. And also I got family members that are still out there, still going hard. And I pray for them every single day to get this miracle that we have. And also, I had an older brother that died from this disease at the age of 21 years old. And mind you, I'm 20 now, and I'll be turning 21 in March. And I'm starting to realize that how young he was, and I never got the chance to meet him. He hung himself, and his blood alcohol content was 0.37. So that put me in perspective of what was going on with everything. With everything in my family, on my brother, and how dangerous this disease is, because for a young age, my dad started talking about where he goes and everything like that. And so one day, it was like when I was like 13 years old, I was up the street at my friend's house, and it was like a really cold night, and it was snowing the day before, and I asked him if I can have a glass of iced tea, and he's like, yeah, sure, man, yeah, sure, all right. And then he gives me the iced tea. It's a red Solo cup filled with iced tea. I take a sip out of it. I'm like, this is not iced tea. What is it? And he's like, oh, I just put some vodka in it. I hope you don't mind. I'm like, all right. So then I take the second sip, started to dig it. Third sip, I really digged it. And by the time the fourth sip came, I drank the whole thing down. I just instantly loved it like that. And somebody told me when I was getting sober that everybody has a different progression. I know guys that came in at 45 and turned alcoholic drinkers when they were 45. Well, they got sober at 45 and they turned alcoholically when they were 35. I hope that sounded right. But for me, my progression was like right out of the gate, the Apollo mission going up to the moon. I know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I'm going to fucking drink and smoke pot. That's what I'm going to do. And I love the sensation that I got. And I chased it for 3 years. And I'll tell you something, those 3 years were absolute hell. I did not know. It was just crazy. It was just absolutely nuts. I went from being a normal teenage drinker, having fun, to drinking 3 bottles of vodka in a laundromat basement in a town that was right next to mine with 3 other people that I did not hardly know. And it took me, and my drinking and my smoke. I also found pot, and that was a really big part of my story. I'm a humongous pothead, and when I got started to get blackouts, and one day my dad comes up to me and my brother, and he's like, all right, I want to take you to an AA meeting. And at the time I was 16 years old and I was heavily drinking, smoking pot, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right, oh, great. And we go to my home group. It wasn't my home group at the time, but the meeting that is now my home group is my first ever AA meeting. And and the speakers shared, and then it went on to discussion, and somebody was talking about drinking because they were afraid. And I was afraid about everything. I just was afraid. I was just completely paranoid, afraid of everything. And once I picked up that first drink or drug, the fear went away. And I totally identified with that. And then all of a sudden, that alcoholic thinking was like, you're too young to be an alcoholic. I know you got like 5 more years, 10 more years in you. And I'm like, no, okay, I'm just gonna listen to this voice in my head and continue what I was gonna do. And then I went to a second meeting with my dad. And after that meeting, my dad came up to me and he's like, if alcohol is kicking your ass, you're more than welcome to come here. And that's all that he said. And I had a little glimpse of hope. But I still continued what I was continuing to doing. And I was on my last drunk. My last drink, my sobriety date, February 28th, 2014. I was at the same person's house that I had my first drunk at. Before that, I was supposed to go to a meeting with my dad, but I had to do something really quick because I didn't really like I had to get a little tipsy before I went to this meeting, of course. And when I got and I manipulated my mom for shit, I really did some damage with that. And at this time, my mom relapsed. My dad and my mom were separated. And for the longest time, and I'll tell you, this is another reason why I drank and drugged, because for this amount of period, is that I caught my mom cheating on my dad, and I was the one, told my dad that my mom cheated on you, and I had so much guilt and shame about doing that. I realized was that I just broke the whole family, and it's my fault for doing that. And I did not. And after that moment, I did not give a fuck about anything. I just wanted to drink and drug, and it's just I just went into a really dark place in my spiritual being, emotional being, and I went to go to my friend's house. I got drunk, and I had a concoction of scotch, Fireball, Jack Daniels, wine, beer. Like it was just a complete mess. And I came in there just thinking that I would just have one drink. That's it. And I got obliterated, blacked out. I remember a little bit that I had a dip on my lip, a peppermint dip. I think it was Grizzly, and I thought that was gonna max the smell, but at this point, literally, the alcohol was coming out of my pores. I drank so much that I was just flat out hammered as usual. And I came home, and I come in, my dad comes straight to my face, and he's like, "You're drunk." And I'm like, "No, I'm fucking not." And at this time, this guy had 35 years in the program. He knows when an alcoholic's bullshitting or not. And I realized, and I'm like, "No, I'm not." He's like, "I don't want to talk to you." And then left with my mom. No, not my mom. With my brother. And him just left, and my mom comes walking down the stairs and gave me this look I'll never forget. That look of disappointment that, oh my God, another drunk in the family, great. And also, and that broke my heart, and I still remember that look to this day. And then I went into a rage blackout, and I wanted to kill myself this day. I didn't want to feel this pain anymore. And all of a sudden, something else in my head said that, is this me for the rest of my life? Just drinking and drugging and hurting other people in my life. And right when I said that, there was an AA pamphlet right next to my bed, and I kept throwing it away, and my mom kept digging it out of the garbage can so I can just have it. And I opened it up, and it was and I opened up to the steps, and I read that first step. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives have become unmanageable. And at that moment, I'm like, I am an alcoholic. I need to do something about it. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. And I called somebody from a different 12-step fellowship, and she was my age. And at this time, I was 16 years old. And I called her, and I said, "How did you get clean and sober?" And she was like, "Get a sponsor, get a home group, do 90-90, stay connected," all this pizzazz and everything like that. Like, woo, okay. I hear it every time, but okay. And she's like, "Do the next right thing." All of a sudden, it says it in the big book, we have a psychic change that happens to us when we do our first step, that we realize that we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives have become unmanageable. My mom calls the cops on me because of how bad I was, how violent I was. At this time, I was thinking about dropping out of high school because it was affecting my drinking and drugging. Nobody wanted to deal with me, with teachers, principals, psychologists, and and it's just, I only had two friends, and they were my drinking and drugging buddies. And at this point, I was all alone, and I haven't been honest with anyone else in a very long time till this point. And I said to the two cops, I have an alcohol problem. I'm an alcoholic. I know what to do. Please give me a second chance. And they gave me that second chance, and I've been sober ever since that day. Now my favorite part, recovery. I struggled tremendously in early recovery because I was surrounded by old timers in their 50s and 60s, and I'm like 16 at the time, and going on to 17. I didn't need to go to a rehab or a detox because my house was my rehab and my detox because both my parents were in the program. And I went to a meeting almost every single day, and I was struggling tremendously because the idea of saying I'm too young to be an alcoholic was still in my head. But I knew if I pick up that first drink, I am unpredictable. I don't know if I'm going to be A or B. And there's this guy who came up to me. His name was Big Mike. I call him Big Mike because he's a humongous bodybuilder, and he looks like he would crush somebody's head. And he comes up to me. He's like, "How old are you?" I'm like, 16. And he's like, what are you thinking about? I'm like, "I'm too young to be an alcoholic." I just said it flat out. And he's like, "Let me tell you something that somebody told me." I came in at 19 years old, by the way. And at this time, he had 13 years of sobriety. And he came up to me and said, "Doesn't matter what age you are, what gender you are, what race you are, if you have an alcohol problem and you don't want to die anymore, stay. Wait until the miracle happens. And keep coming." And I realized at that moment, he was totally right. And then I met my first sponsor right after that, and his name was Giovanni E. And he got sober in the Jersey City area. And the Jersey City is literally across the Hudson River from New York City. And this guy was a complete nut, and it worked for me at the time. And it was a really good experience for me because he taught me how to have fun in AA. Because when I came in, I thought my life was over. We went to go get tattoos, go to sun kill moon shows, and just skated. And our third step experience was like, we did it, and he's like, "How you feel?" And I'm like, "I feel pretty good." And he's like, "Nice, dude, nice." Like, it was just a really nice, chilled, like, it was a really good experience for me. And then as time went on, I realized that there was something in my head, in my thinking, like, that I did not know about. And I asked G, "Hey, G, can I get another sponsor? I know this guy, and he's like a really spiritual dude, and I want to get more spiritual." He's like, "Yo, go ahead, bro." And I met this guy named Tim D, and he's actually one of our really good friends from my dad's, my dad's good friend, and he is my spiritual advisor. He goes, and I went through the steps again, and I realized how much self-hatred I I have. And he told me to go in front of the mirror every single day saying, I am as what God created me. I am the child of God, and you all are. And that brought me self-love and how to love myself, and and so I can love others. And it brought me to a whole nother perspective on what brought my recovery in. Um, and then I met this wonderful girl named Allison, and she was part of the New Jersey bid. And she went to my home group and she was like, "Hey, Matt, uh, you're a really young guy. Would you like to be a part of NJYPAA?" I'm like, "What's NJYPAA?" And she's like, "What? It's Young People's and Alcoholics Anonymous." I'm like, "Hell yeah, let's do it!" And then I got in, and and it's been amazing because when I came in, I thought I was the only young person in Alcoholics Anonymous around like 17, like 18, trying to stay sober and very serious about it. And now I'm getting to meet so many different people around my area, around Pennsylvania, even including the whole country. It's like, it's crazy because we all have a divine path from God. We just have to let God take the wheel. Because it's not me anymore. It's about God upstairs, the guy upstairs. And and there was a lot of gifts with that as well. But the main thing that I want to say through exterior gifts that I had, I got my family back even stronger than ever. I got my friends back stronger than ever. And most importantly, I got my twin brother back, because there was a while that we did not talk. And especially to my mom, because in early sobriety, she did not even talk to me for a good 6 months, because how violent I got. And every day that I talk to her, it's a gift, because I love her to death. And I'm helping her to get onto online meetings, and so that she can expand her network through that, because she's not able physically, she's not able to go to meetings outside, and being of service, you know. And another thing too is that I'm an electrician by trade, and I'm a volunteer fighter, and very soon I'll be taking the test for the New York City Fire Department in the next 2 weeks, all because I'm sober. All the things that I have is because I'm sober today. I thank God every single day that I have what I have. And another thing is that before I close, if anyone's new, coming back, counting days, and is struggling, please stay. It's definitely worth it. And and I tell these to my guys, this is like a really big roller coaster ride, but you just gotta enjoy every single moment of it, because our disease wants us dead. And I thank God every single day that I'm alive, one day at a time, that daily reprieve, one day at a time. And it's just, I'm so grateful to meet all you guys throughout the whole country, to different countries. This is incredible. And it's a truly an honor to see all 49 of you beautiful people on here just trying to get a meeting in. It's beautiful, and I love every single one of you, and that's all I have to share. Thanks. No problem, brothers. No problem. All right, let me put my headphones back on. By the way, if anyone wants the topic, I would like to hear either whatever you got or step one. So that's all I have to share. Thanks.